week's episode, we're talking about using cell cameras on your deer hunting lease. Now, it might seem like a no-brainer to run cell cameras, but we're going to run through some of the reasons why you should probably be using them, and also a trail camera strategy that you can employ on that lease. First of all, in addition to patterning deer, how about security? You want to make sure that people aren't trespassing, especially if you're close to a chunk of public land and people want to, get a little bit sketchy and come over the border or whatever. The other thing is, when it comes to surveillance with cell cams, outside of using them just for deer or trespassers, is farmers, anybody else who might be recreating on the property, or the landowner. If you have an agreement set up with the landowner where they're not supposed to be out there during deer season, or a farmer's not supposed to be out there screwing around, or the neighbor's not supposed to be out there, there's an agreement that you set at the beginning of the year. You set your expectations with everybody. Everybody's on the same page, so then if somebody's violating those terms, then you're probably going to have to address it. So a lot of different things you could capture on a cell cam. Another great reason to run cell cams on your property is predators. If all of a sudden you realize that the deer hunting is not that good, well, somewhere like I'm at in northern Wisconsin, maybe wolves moved into the area. Maybe you got a bear that's out there marauding. Predators are a good thing to keep an eye on. You can use cell cams to do that as well.
Having the Wisconsin lease and living over in Minnesota, having that distance between us, like we just can't come here often. I can't drive by here. I can't drive by the bean fields and see what's out here and stuff like that. So it's crucial for us to be able to have these cell cams and the command app to be able to just monitor everything going on out here from a distance. And you can kind of try to pay attention to the weather patterns when they come through in real time, which is just always fun. And it's fun to see the deer and fun to see when they come through and try to figure out when are these deer going to show up when season finally does start.
And last but not least, another great reason to have cell cams, monitoring food plots. Not for patterning deer, but just keeping an eye on the health of your food plots if you have been able to plant them, or even the natural agriculture that's going around in the area. You can figure out when crops are coming in, when crops are going out, if your food plot needs water, if it's not looking so good, if it's looking really good. It's just really nice to have eyes on that when you can't be there all the time.
Most likely west.
All right, so when you get into a new hunting lease, here's a good strategy that you can follow to get your cell cam program off the ground. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get as many cameras as you can afford. If you're in on a lease with some buddies, it's going to be easier to split those costs, but get as many cameras as you can afford, and then figure out where you want to place them preliminarily for the very first trail cam setting. And one way that you can easily do that, if you don't know a lot about the property, is doing a bunch of e-scouting with HuntStand. You're going to be able to find some of the really obvious areas that at least look good on paper, so that once you get out there to go put those trail cameras out, you're not going to be stumbling around the woods trying to figure everything out from scratch. If you've done your e-scouting properly, you're going to have some locations in mind, at least on a larger scale, and then you can hone in on them specifically to put in some pinpoint placements right out of the gate. If you have not set the property up yet and you're going to run some cell cams, I recommend getting them out a couple of weeks ahead of time, because then by the time you go in there to actually do the work to set up the property, to hang stands, to learn the property even more, you're going to have 2 weeks of intel that you can go off of. So if a camera just isn't producing, or if you feel like it's in the wrong spot, once you go back out there to set up the property, you're going to be able to make some of those adjustments, and hopefully they'll be the last adjustments you have to make before the season, so you can keep the impact low on the property and you're not constantly out there moving your cameras around.
Being in a different state, the cell cams are time saving. You have to come and change the batteries here and there, or if you're running solar, we have a few solar, which is awesome. But being able to share all the photos with the guys, and we all know what's going on, can see, and be able to talk about it is definitely a huge advantage if you're going to be leasing a property like this out of state.
If you have partners on your deer hunting lease, it's going to be even more important to use cameras that have a really good app with sharing. The Command Pro app that you can use with stealth cams and muddy cell cams have awesome sharing capabilities in that app. So Everybody's going to be able to see what's going on with the cameras. It's full transparency. Doesn't matter what brand of cell cams you're running. You're going to want to keep track of all the placements in HuntStand. That's really important to stay diligent about that, especially if you're running multiple cameras and you got multiple guys out there who might be moving the placements around. You got to be diligent about keeping track of those camera locations in HuntStand. If you are running the Command Pro app, there's a HuntStand integration. So what's cool about that is with stealth cams and muddies, you can see all of your images right on the HuntStand map. You don't even have to go into the Command Pro app. So you can do all of your scouting and mapping in HuntStand and view all of your cell cam images right there on the map in HuntStand. Last thing I'm going to say about running cell cams is they need to be a part of a lot bigger strategy. It's not just to get some cool images coming into your phone to keep you up at night. Really put these things to work. Combine it with your e-scouting in HuntStand, and they're going to perform so much better for you. I know that might sound like an obvious thing, but we'll go in more depth about how you can do that in one of the upcoming episodes. Just make sure you're thoughtful about it. Put cameras in spots that make sense. Move them only when you need to, and make sure you're collaborating with your buddies so everybody has the best possible experience.